Hey guys, this is Australia here, and I wanted to make a video about this team that I built a while back. And the reason that I feel like it's worth a bit of a spotlight, or my excuse anyway, is that it just got used in the Smogon Classic Finals by Crucify against ABR. Sadly, it didn't win, and he ultimately lost the set 1-3, but it's still a pretty cool team. And yeah, I just wanted to show it off, discuss what it's all about. I also want to say I think it's like probably about as good as you're gonna get when it comes to implementing Hitmontop into Advanced OU, which is like it's a really niche mon, so it's not saying much. But I think that it's a genuinely good team, but it requires playing the game in a very different way to how most teams play. Which we'll get into. But I think first I'll sort of discuss just like how the heck did I build it in the first place? And actually, the core I started with was the Gyarados and Stelix core. I didn't start off with the Hitmontop necessarily, but I saw something which just said that like basically these two Pokemon wore most of the metagame really well, and like the biggest exception is Starmie. And I'm like, what special wall is like amazing versus Starmie, but can struggle versus other random bits and pieces? Answers on Umbreon. Like, of course I'm gonna think of it. It's me. This team just like screams that I built it, as Stocking said to me on Facebook. So yeah, you start with those. And then Magneton, because Jesus Christ, it's like the most Scam Weak core you could imagine. Especially when like I'm playing like a fairly defensive like Gyarados set, it's not like Taunt DD and then like an offensive Stelix. No, it's just I'm using like Umbreon and Rest Gara. So yeah, Magneton. Also Fortress Weak, so ended up going like Fat Mag, and then I was like, well, can go with Hitmontop alongside this as well because like the core is like DD tar weak and it needs rapid spin as well, especially if I'm going Fat Mag because I need to reliably trap Fortress as well, so I'm gonna need to spin. And then Snorlax just fit at the end because it's like still soft against Jirachi. It's pretty well supported here with Pursuit and Magneton, so Gengar and Skarmory shouldn't cause it too many problems. It's just a really good fit. The thing is that like when playing Pokemon like Curslax, is that because they're so demanding when it comes to the support that they need to actually have the potential to pose a threat later on in the game, is that you can't fit like traditional strategies that are stronger like early to mid game like spikes. There's just you can't really do that and have a solid team. It's just like trapping plus hazards plus Curslax. It's just too much going on. You kind of need to go all in on just trap, wall, bide your time, find the right opportunity to set up and go for it. And that's kind of what a team like this is about. It makes it difficult to put pressure on the opponent early on. You can do, but it's pretty delicate. It's pretty delicate to do that. So it doesn't suit most people's play styles. It's arguably not the best way to play Pokemon. I mean, any really good player like M Dragon, who I show this team to, or like BKC or whatever, or Cowboy Dan, a lot of them will tell me anything from it's bad and I don't like it to just scrap it. Like they don't play Pokemon this way, and this way of playing Pokemon is like Megan has probably tried this sort of thing a bit more than most at like these teams that are all about control. Prevent your opponent from having any counterplay, set up and win. And obviously he's like a really great player, and he's evaluated that that's just not the best way to play. So bear that in mind. That's what's going on here. But first of all, I think versus your average bear versus a decent player, this team can pick off some wins with appropriately skillful play. But yeah, it's fundamentally quite a unique sort of approach to the game. Let's actually get into the sets. Wait, that's not. Oh, wait. The sets. Voila. Was that? That wasn't intended, but here we go. Let me actually just do editing live, which is like really terrible. I feel like I'm. Oh, anyway. I hope like you literally don't care. This is the team. So some stuff is a bit more obvious than others. But for me, for the most part, these sets just feel natural mostly. It's like Umbreon. There are other moves on like Wish Pursuit Umbreon than Toxic, like Bad and Pass, Charm, and so on. But Toxic is just so valuable to make it actually threatening to stuff that it's not just trying to pursue. It makes it able to actually force switches against stuff. Yeah. Pretty much that's kind of like all there is to Umbreon. With Snorlax as well, I've actually just got like the Smogdick spread. This is something that you could tweak if you wanted to try the team. But return Earthquake just makes sense to me because you're dealing with Skarm and Gengar with your trappers and not much else. So, yeah, pretty straightforward there. Gyarados. There are some things here that are like a bit unusual, but I don't think should be seen as that unusual. One thing being that it's jolly. There's a couple different reasons for running so much speed on Gyarados, but I feel like almost every Gyarados should actually be like a fast jolly thing. First reason, outspeed Aerodactyl and Jolteon at +1. If you have Earthquake, which, let me tell you, every Gyarados has Earthquake. Even like weird bad sets generally have Earthquake. Then you're going to get something out of having Jolly Gyarados just for that. Even if you just like HP flying and you don't really do that much to Aero. Although it's still substantial. It can be with Chip on Aero. Which is something you can like aim for with this team with the pursuits. It's one approach. But it's also for Heracross at like +0. So like with those sort of EVs, then you're outspeeding Adamant Heracross and you're surviving +1 Heracross Rock Slide from full and one hit KOing back with HP flying, which on a defensive team like this is really crucial. But I think even for like more offensive teams, if it's your Heracross answer, it should be Jolly. But that's just my hot take on it. And yeah, rest. You don't need Taunt here with Magneton. You don't really need like Double Edge as well. This team annihilates Zapdos completely. And I mean, yeah, I guess you could like think about Hydro Pump for like Stelix and Aero. It's a thing, but rest just makes more sense to me here. Yeah. Stelix as well. There are other moves. Ugly Duckling, UD. Oh my goodness. Who calls him ugly? Nobody calls UD Ugly Duckling anymore, do they? But that's what he is. That just like was how I wanted to say his name. Anyway, when I like discussed the team with UD, he says like put Protect on Stelix. And I'm like, where? I don't know. To me, all of these moves feel necessary. Earthquake for stab and like Jolteon, Raikou. Rock Slide, so you actually hit Zapdos and you hit Aerodactyl. Roar, because this team has no phasing otherwise. And you need to force out stuff like, I don't know, like random Rest Suicune or Rest Gyarados or like anything. Like, Roar's necessary, even without spikes. On a defensive team, you need Roar. You can't just let random Pokemon sit up in your face. Like Curselax. Curselax would be a problem. And then Explosion as well is one of your few forcing options on this team, and you tend to have to reserve it for pretty late in the game, but it can be... It's more useful against like offensive stuff that can't keep trucking all day, like stuff which is setting up like DD mounts rather than stuff that's sort of like spikes arrow and just like trying to go the distance against this team, because those sort of teams can a bit. So that's where sort of Explosion can be useful. Also like an emergency check against, anything. So to me, I like that set a lot. Magneton. Now, Fat Magneton sucks, but it's necessary sometimes. Yeah, I mean, this team loses absolutely horribly if there's a healthy Skarmory or a healthy Fortress still around. It just does. You need T-Bot HP Fire, you need the bulk so the Earthquake is never one-hit KOing. Then you need as much special attack as you can fit. In terms of the other choices of moves, Sunny Day Toxic is interesting as well. The thing is that you don't really need Protect on this team if you can keep spikes off, which with Magneton and Hitmontop you should be aiming to do. And so then you don't really need to bother, you don't really need that tool to play around Aerodactyl as much. You've got a Stelix and a Gyarados, and Protect on like half the team on like 2 Pokemon as well, and Wish. I mean, it would still do something, but Sunny Day is nice for like a few reasons. I mean, both Snorlax and Gyarados like the weather cleared. If you can clear the weather, lovely jubbly. Secondly, you can lure in Tyranitar that way and threaten to Toxic it, which in turn can let you get rid of the sand in the long run. But it's not there as like, this team must get rid of sand to win. Like, no, you don't need to get rid of sand to win, but it helps. It's a nice little tech to have available to you. And Hitmontop as well. I've experimented a little bit. Brick Break and Rapid Spin with those EVs are a must. With max attack, you one-hit KO 252 HPT tar just barely. With Brick Break, so it's kind of necessary, and then max HP because obviously. Protox is like pretty nice. You're not always gonna get somewhere with it because Gengar, because those Steel types you can hit with Brick Break. So I mean, yeah, it's mostly sort of Gengar that caused issues with that. But it's just like another little tool available to you to make progress. But Hitmontop shouldn't really be coming in that much. Like, you should really be avoiding it at all costs. It should just be coming in on Tyranitars, really. The exception to that, the important exception to that is if you've removed their Spiker and there's no Gengar to block you, then like you can take a hit on Rapid Spin, and that's worth it. But yeah, that's about it really with it. So that's the logic behind the team, how it works. There's tie nicknames because that makes the team stronger. It's just true. I don't know why I don't have one of them named Wonder Frame because she's my favorite, but nonetheless, these are some pretty banging artists that you should check out. So yeah, that's the team. That's sort of how it's meant to flow. In the early game, it's pretty reactive, which makes it very delicate to play. It is kind of like you need to roll with the punches, see what your opponent's got, hold it off, wait for them to inevitably try to spike up if they have it, remove it. If they've got a Gengar or an offensive Starmie, remove it. And then it's like you start putting pressure on with like Snorlax and Gyarados offensively and with Threat of Boom and so on. But it is very much sort of like wait for your opponent to reveal something you can take advantage of and then take advantage of it. That's kind of like the MO of a team like this, is to do that in the early game, which doesn't put it on the front foot at all. And that's like another, like, that's fundamentally like a problem with Curslax type teams in general, like teams that rely on a slow setup sweeper at the end and don't pair that with like immediate offense. You can play that way, but it's there's a lot of fight going into that to really wrest control over that. It's not an easy team to play, but I think it's pretty fun. A lot of people don't enjoy this kind of team either, so it's like, well, what are you doing? But I think Curslax itself, I think, is pretty underrated. Like, I think it's genuinely like a really threatening Pokemon in battle. I have an unbelievable replay against H-Clat where like by like turn 8, like half the team is gone. And then there's like a choice band slacking in. And Curslax manages to solo the entire team, like 5 other Pokemon remaining or something stupid like that. And it's just... I got lucky that I didn't get crit, of course. Like, fundamentally, that's what happens. That there is that element of luck involved. But it still went hero mode. And not much can do that kind of thing. So I don't think I have like much else to add. It's probably a pretty quick one. I don't know. Well, it's been 16 minutes. That's pretty good. So if you like the team, if you just think I'm a wonderful person, which I would advise you against, but maybe you think that anyway, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me to go screw myself if that's who you are. I'm sure. Okay, I'm out of words. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.